Good evening, y'all, and welcome back to the Bourbon and Bones Kitchen. Tonight we are starting a new series. So at the beginning of every season, what we're going to do is actually bring you some great bourbon-based cocktails for you to try at home. And if you've noticed outside, it's getting hot. And here in Arizona, it's somewhere close to the temperature of the hinges to the gates of hell hot. Great for bourbon, not so great for this guy. Anyway, with summer coming into full swing, bourbon cocktails are not always at the forefront of your mind for poolside drinks. Here at Bourbon and Bones, we have a few ideas that might change your mind about that. But before we begin tonight, we want to thank our very first patron here at Bourbon and Bones, our friend Derek. He gave us this amazing bar set from Minuet and helped me finalize and in some ways modernize some of our cocktails tonight. So tonight's cocktails are actually based upon the Kentucky Bourbon Cocktail Book by Joy Perrine and Susan Ragler. In the pinned comment below, check them out if you want to pick up the book. We'll have a link there for you. And I think you'll find it interesting that some of the bourbons that they call for in this book are things like Pappy Van Winkle and Blanton's, things you can't find anymore. But when the book was originally published, they were everywhere. So nice little fun step back in time for us. A great little book and the inspiration for our cocktails tonight, although we have given them a little bit of a Bourbon and Bones twist as well. We're going to use bourbons that are much more readily available in your area, and you can recreate these yourself. So we're going to make 4 cocktails tonight and a party punch. So let's dig in. So first up tonight is a little twist on the Bee Sting, and they're actually going to call it the Frankfort Bee Sting because it is the capital of Kentucky. And also, since we'll be using Barenjager tonight. So Barenjager is a German liqueur. It's actually made of honey and bourbon together. So Frankfurt, Germany, Frankfurt, Kentucky, Frankfort Bee Sting. We are very clever here. So start with the shaker, and we're going to build it in the shaker right away. And so you're going to take 2 ounces of Wild Turkey 101. A ½ ounce of Barenjager. You're going to want a bar spoon of simple syrup. And finally, this is my homemade sweet and sour mix. So it's equal parts water, sugar, lemon, and lime juice. Toss that in there. All right, so what we're going to do is going to shake this over ice. And so I have learned from How to Drink that you use 1 large cube that allows a lot of oxygen to move around. And then you break up the smaller one. And that actually adds a little bit of liquid into the cocktail as you do it. Pull out a strainer. Don't forget your glass. And I really like to garnish this with I forgot what I was going to garnish with. Garnish this with a nice bit of lemon. Squeeze right over top of it. And for a little bit of extra flavor and a touch more sweetness, a nice Luxardo cherry. Right onto there. So now the best part of the evening, we get to taste it. So right away on the nose, of course it's lemon. You actually can start getting a little bit of that honey in there. And this is such a nice cocktail. It is a little sweet, nice and tangy from the actual honey and the Barenjager. A little bit of that wild turkey vanilla and boldness coming through. And since it's shaken over ice, it is nice and fresh, chilled, great little cocktail, and a really fun little color. Nice little presentation. So this is the Frankfort Bee Sting. All right, next up is the Kentucky Lake Tropical. So Kentucky Lake was a man-made lake, and the idea behind it was actually to change the local climate so they could grow oranges and bananas and pineapples. And it didn't work at all. It's nowhere near large enough to change the climate, the local climate. But it is great for boating and swimming. The Kentucky Lake Tropical, because it's everything you don't think of Kentucky when you're building a drink. All right, so we're gonna start again with our shaker, build it in there. We're gonna start off with Old Forester Bottle and Bond, 1897. If you can't get a hold of this, Old Forester 100 proof would be a great option as well. As long as it's a higher proof, and I really like Old Forester in this cocktail, I think it stands out just enough. Next is 1 ounce of Plantation Original Dark Rum. It's a double-aged rum. It's really nice. It goes really well with Old Forester. And we're gonna do 1 ounce of that. Next is 1/2 ounce of Tuaca. It's actually a flavored brandy. Put too much in there, you'll be able to taste it through, and it's a little overly sweet. So we cut that back down to 1/2 ounce. And 1/2 ounce of brown sugar syrup, which is 2 cups of brown sugar and a cup of hot water, and then shake it until it's done. Pretty easy. And then 1 ounce of pineapple juice. So like always, 1 large ice cube and 1 broken one. Shake. So I'm going to strain this again. I'm going to serve this in a highball. Take another nice rock, give it a nice little break. All right, so then strain this into a rocks glass with some ice. I like to add a nice little lime wedge to it. I think it goes really well. Little spritz on top. There we are. So, Kentucky Lake Tropical. Right on the nose, you get a little bit of sweetness, nice little burst of pineapple. You get a little bit of this aged funkiness from the rum, nice sweetness from the bourbon, and a little bit of oak from it too. It's a really, really nice drink. And you even taste a little bit of the Tuaca, which is nice. It's a little bit of extra vanilla burst in there. Great cocktail for the summer. So up next tonight is a summer classic, a Bourbon Negroni, also called a Boulevardier. So we're going to start off with 2 ounces of Larceny. 92 proof, great wheated bourbon. And if you like Larceny or want to know a little bit more about wheated bourbons, check out our link right here. Three-quarter ounces of Compari. And 3/4 of an ounce of Antica sweet vermouth. So again, 1 large, 1 broken. Put it together and give it a good shake. All right, so we have a highball glass with a nice broken ice in there. Strain it right on top. And serve with a nice fresh orange peel. All right, and there it is. So you already smell the bourbon. Nice little dash of citrusy orange. And that sweet vermouth and that Compari just punch through. Great kind of a bitters, kind of anise seed, a little clove-like, but that bourbon is still drifting all the way through. And I think the Larceny being wheated gives a little bit of this grassy element to it. Fantastic. Bourbon Negroni. And our final cocktail for this evening is actually the Moonbow. And so the Moonbow is actually an homage to the Cumberland Falls in southeastern Kentucky. One of the only 2 places in the world, the other being Victoria Falls in Africa, where a moonbow actually regularly appears during a full moon. So that means, just like when you see a rainbow in the sky, this one actually happens at the dead of night. Big, bold full moon hits the water coming off of it, and it's just this beautiful moonbow coming off. And so this drink is perfect for those nice, hot summer nights under a full moon. So I'm going to start off with 2 ounces of Old Grandad 114. A bar spoon of simple syrup, or a bit more. You're going to need a bar spoon of orange juice. So I like mine fresh squeezed. And a bar spoon of fresh lime juice. A little bit easier on this one. And finally, a bar spoon of cranberry juice. And since cranberries are impossible to juice by myself, and since I would get it all over the walls, and I would be dead for doing so, just buy really nice cranberry juice. Again, shake it over ice. All right, we're going to serve this in a nice wine glass over ice. And strain into the glass. I'm using Bundaberg ginger beer to finish this, about an ounce or so. And the finishing touch to this cocktail is actually to float a little bit of cranberry juice right on top. And I'm bad at it, so still tastes good though. All right, and so here we are. This is the Moonbow. Right off the nose, you actually can still smell Old Grandad. It's this big, bold caramel and vanilla. Great fruitiness coming across from the cranberries. Nice little effervescence and kind of earthiness coming from the ginger beer. But the juices and the bourbon just really kind of cut through it. I think the ginger beer really gives it everything else a good lift, and it blends so well together. This is nice, actually. This is really nice. So, the Moonbow. And finally, this evening is our punch bowl. So this is for a great pool party once quarantine is over, having a group of people over to play some cards, anything like that, anything you can do in the summertime. And it gives you the freedom to not be making cocktails all the time if you're trying to also host. This is a nice little cheat for that. So this is our sour blueberry bourbon beer punch. So we're going to start off with 8 ounces of blueberries. I'm going to put about 4 ounces in there, or so. And I found if you muddle these up just a little bit, just kind of break them, get some of those juices going, that it just gives you a little bit more of that great summer flavor that you're looking for. Next is 2 cans of blueberry beer. And so what I have here is actually a local one. It's a blueberry sour ale by somebody, by College Street Brew House. It's Boulevardier. So we'll take these. Quick, just for a little taster. It's like a blueberry sweet tart. That is sweet and blueberry and sourness. More like a blueberry warhead if you're old enough to remember those. Next is 1 can of previously frozen Minute Maid pink lemonade. 10 ounces of water. And of course, the most important ingredient because this is a bourbon channel, we're gonna need bourbon. So the original recipe called for 2 ounces, and I really don't feel like that's enough. So I'm actually gonna use just regular white label Heaven Hill, just because it's price point and the access of it in my bar. And I do think the flavors play well. I'm gonna do 1/2 cup of bourbon. I'm going to give it all a nice stir. Not too much, because you don't want any of the foam from the beer to really just die out. And finally, two lemons cut into wedges. Give them a little bit of a squeeze as you drop them in. The rest of the blueberries right on top. And finally, a nice amount of ice. All right. Give that a nice stir one more time. All right. And so finally, let's give it a taste. The sour blueberry bourbon beer punch. Around the nose, you nice little blueberry, nice citrus notes. It's definitely got a little sour element to it. This is, I feel like, the perfect punch for any kind of summer gathering. It just screams summertime flavors. And even with the blueberries and the sourness and the citrus, I feel like there's still a little bit of a vanilla element, which can only be coming from the bourbon. But I will say that that's probably it. But if you want a little bit more bourbon, add it till it tastes right. So tonight we've covered 4 cocktails and a punch bowl, and I really hope you like what we're doing here. I would really like to make this a regular segment, about once a quarter for each season, maybe something for Derby, maybe something for the holidays, something to help us survive family. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm always excited to hear from people. And again, if you love what we're doing here, if you like what we're doing here, like, share, and subscribe us below. And I'm actually going to pin the recipes in the comment section as well. And I hope you try them. And if you do, let me know. All right. So remember, share a bourbon with someone. Good night.